Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Meta. It is time for another update, and on this chart it seems we have broken the relevant levels of support for one of our scenarios. So far only briefly, so the interpretation remains valid, right? We had this yellow scenario. However, the structure to the downside doesn't seem too suggestive of a bottom being in place, rather the opposite, and we will, of course, provide the likely interpretation, the levels of resistance to watch, and what we can expect overall from this chart in the future. And if you want to keep up to date with these developments, I would encourage you to subscribe. In addition to that, we have just sent out our second monthly top picks in our newsletter, and you can get access to them for free if you sign up with the link in the description. Now, on this chart, we have been tracking a pretty simple initial wave 1 to the upside. Yeah, we have a 5-wave pattern, we have a wave 2, and we are looking to build a wave 3. Quite a bullish chart, quite a bullish structure, and this structure, even if it fails to hold our levels of support internally, is actually quite capable of still forming in a larger wave 3 to the upside, as the wave 3 really doesn't need to build in a direct fashion. Yeah, we can just build an initial wave 1 in this entire movement, and the wave 2 could theoretically form at any point. Now, it would have been ideal to form at least one more high. We still have other scenarios that would allow extensions, but let's actually get into the details here. So, in this structure, we have been looking for a couple of scenarios. Primarily, we had here the white structure that would allow a series of 1-2 setups to have developed in this movement. This could have actually allowed a wave 3 to form even in a pretty direct fashion, and we went a step further than this. In the yellow interpretation, we tracked the same pattern technically, but instead of having here a top within an internal wave 5, we were looking for this to have only been a wave 1 part of a much larger wave 5. Now, of course, this is being heavily challenged by having this break below our area of support, and we have to consider that very likely we will see another leg down, getting a sustained break, and then even further extensions, as I will show you very soon in this pattern today. Nonetheless, we still have the large area of support, and I promise we will go into the smaller time frame as well. But for context, as long as we hold here $467, I believe it is still capable of forming a wave 5, of forming continued extensions within this structure. Currently, I am preferring to track this as an impulse, and to be honest, even within the idea of a leading diagonal in a 5-wave move in this movement, I would have preferred another high. But if we get here a break below $467, rest assured we should be prepared for this wave to the upside to actually have a top in place. We could prepare ourselves to look for a correction to reach at least $343.5, and the support zone does extend all the way down to $141, but realistically, of course, we do not need to get all the way there. We could form a bottom sooner than that, especially within a wave 3, where oftentimes corrections are a lot more shallow. Now, is it the time to focus on this area of support? I do not believe it yet. I would like to still see another attempt for rally or to see the area of support in white broken. So for clarity, a sustained break below $467 is suggesting that we would see the $343 level reached, right? Now, I may have not drawn that perfectly, but it is certainly within that region we would expect. Is it a certainty? Of course not. We do not do predictions here, but I find that to be the most probable outcome as a result of breaking this white area of support. Now, let's pedal back a bit, go through the internal yellow structure we have been tracking, because we have seen lots of developments here, and this is actually where we have even been tracking a double 1-2-1-2 setup in the previous videos, as we have failed to form an initial 5-wave move to the upside. And we actually had setups in both directions in this structure, right? We had an initial 5-wave move to the upside here, we had an area of support here, we pushed into the last level of support, we extended higher, even to the ideal target for a wave 3. We had a 5-wave move to the downside here, we were looking for a 3-wave correction here, Well, we have pushed perfectly into the minimum expectations for the area of resistance for such a structure, and we have extended lower. Once again, the setup has been working. This chart is respecting those setups quite nicely when it builds a potential 5-wave structure. Nonetheless, we have failed to hold the relevant levels of support. Yeah, we provided the area of support for a wave 2 down to $628.5. We have attempted to actually react to this. There has been several attempts along this region to actually bottom and form the reversal, but it has failed, right? We have pushed below it, we recovered, but every single time we have bounced from this region, it has been a weak attempt, right? There has been no strong structure indicating pushes to higher prices with high confidence. So right now I'm watching two scenarios, and we can even remove the yellow support zone for this. I'm watching either a wave C to be overall building in this entire movement to the downside. This can actually expect extended movements, as this internal wave 3 does seem quite incomplete. And let me be clear, it is technically possible to track an ending diagonal in this wave C overall, but I wouldn't bet on it. I would wait for evidence of such an outcome. And then there is also the possibility of building an A, B, C pattern here. In either case, the area of resistance would have been the same. That's why we only tracked it in one scenario. And in the blue structure, there was also the possibility to bottom within this yellow area of support, which, again, very unlikely at this point. Now, in both of these interpretations, I will be looking for the most bearish scenario because I want to see some invalidations. So we will focus on a potential wave 3 to be building here. And within this wave 3, I am of course looking for an impulse. This is the most bearish outcome we could be tracking in this area. In this impulse, I would need to consider this to have been a series of 1-2 setups realistically. And even here, probably a series of 5-1-2 setups, with the latest one being just this tiny wave 1 down, this wave 2 up. And this is what I would consider the wave 3 to have been. What we are now looking to identify, however, is a slowdown in the momentum. We are looking for signals that the wave 3 has bottomed. I of course cannot guarantee this at this point, but as we have already seen the most significant correction since this entire drop, we can pretty safely look for an internal wave 4 correction, and for this interpretation, I will be watching exactly the 50% retracement to be broken for a signal that something potentially more bullish would of course be going on. So, once again, I repeat myself, we are looking for this to potentially build a larger impulse. This would in turn be a larger wave 3, and even once it is complete, we would be looking once again for a larger 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we will go on and on in this trend until we complete this entire structure. If at any point we break the area of resistance for such a scenario, for such an expectation, for any of these waves 4, we would need to be looking for the possibility of building an ending diagonal within this wave C in orange, but even then we would still be able to track internal extensions in this structure, because while I could be looking for this to have been rather a larger A, B, C pattern, where quite simply we could be looking for a bottom to be in place within 1 or 2 additional lows in a larger wave 3, just as easy I could be tracking an internal A, B, C structure where another low still has room for such an interpretation. So at any point within this structure, we can form a bottom theoretically within the wave 3 of a larger diagonal structure, but I am looking for evidence, and we are sitting far from that, as we can quite clearly see we have barely managed to push into the first level of resistance, and we have already gotten rejected. Now, as I look into the smaller time frame here, I would be open to this being still part of the correction, to have here a larger 1, 2, 3. It doesn't really matter to me. Maybe a bit in terms of the proportions I could expect for such a wave 4, but with such a strong extension to lower prices, the wave 4 can safely be larger than the wave 2 in proportions anyway. Now, In this structure, even within this small time frame, we are actually able to identify a somewhat promising pattern. I am actually looking at this to have been a potential initial 5-way move to the upside, but can I trust it? Well, it's within the 15-minute time frame. I wouldn't personally. I do not see this as a reliable trade setup necessarily, but for any of you interested in such a structure, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you want to, you can have the area of support for such a pattern between $532 down to $524, and a break below the 78.6% retracement would be rather a signal that likely the wave 4 top had already been in place here and the wave 5 is already unfolding. Now, I believe all the currently relevant information is on the table, all the relevant levels to watch are on the table, the ideal pattern has been outlined. We expect even within an ending diagonal in the wave C to actually still form at the very least one more low. I am not imposing, but I would find that much more likely than to see a breakout above the 50% retracement here. And to be clear, this correction has safely fulfilled the minimum expectations for a wave 4. Even if I am able to track a 5-wave pattern in this area, it doesn't need to be one. And while I do prefer slight extensions to higher prices, or potentially even a larger A, B, C structure in such a wave 4, I wouldn't bet on it. I would zoom out and I would recommend you do the same. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoy our content and want to support us directly, check out our channel membership. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel newsletter, where only this week will you still get access to our latest monthly newsletter. Other than that, let me know what else you would like me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.